Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Campcast. If you guys do enjoy, don't forget to go and give us a look over on Patreon. If you head over to our Patreon, you can support us there, allowing us to put out more... Oh wait.
You are evil. You are evil. You're pure evil.
We win.
Yeah. we won the Game of Thrones. We won the Game of Thrones. You either win or you die.
The Game of Podcasts. And I'm Alex Sure has been playing that game for quite a while now. Oh, is that 3 episodes in?
Yep.
3 episodes in? 3 podcasts in, sorry.
3 podcasts in and it's gone. It's like...
You're a fool, I'm Alex. You're a fool.
We are
gods
evil.
Have smitten you down today.
gods, you were strong then.
The old gods and the new judged you, and you have failed.
Yeah.
But hello everyone. Welcome back to the camp. No, I didn't mean to say that. Welcome back to the coffee club.
Yeah.
How are you all doing today? Jesus, that was a bit snide from me.
That was extremely snide.
Alex is gonna beat me when he gets back for America.
Yeah, that does full on just snide. The snide levels are too damn high. That's a very old meme. But we're very sorry for taking such a long break. But do you know why we took a long break?
What do you mean?
We kind of forgot to record episodes.
Well, it's like we always do this thing of where it's like, yeah, we'll record, and we do actually. You do come to my apartment. I don't go to yours because everyone's here. Like,
yeah, everyone's here pretty much. Like, what's the point?
But that's the main problem. Everyone's here, so you'll get here, and we'll probably like order food or something, or play FIFA,
and then we forget.
Yeah, well, we won't forget. We'll be like, we're gonna go over to Alex's now, and we're gonna chill there, and then we'll come back and record. And it gets to it's 2 a.m, and we're like,
we
should we just do it tomorrow? And
we'll it's procrastinating.
And then the process repeats. But actually, today I've put aside socials. I was meant to go out for a meal. Sorry, Lily. I don't think many people will know Lily. Maybe they will if they're that much of a dedicated stan. But I put aside my stuff to record an episode of where I get very, very angry about Game of Thrones season 8.
You've been waiting for this one. You've been waiting.
This is the one I've been wanting to do more than any episode we've ever done. I have so much to say, and you even said before this, I'm just gonna let you go off on this one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you just go on a tangent because like you've got so much to say.
Oh, I think my Twitter account shows it. I literally posted like an hour ago a video called how Game of Thrones was massacred or something, and everyone was just like, no, please stop this. I will not fucking stop this.
Honestly, it's like
also sorry can I,
no, you can do it. Yeah.
We did this thing at the starting of where we're like, we're gonna try and keep it like not like PC on here, but we're gonna try and not say like. But we're just gonna
anything that your parents would get mad at you for saying in public.
Yeah, I don't know why we did that, but we're just gonna go off.
We're gonna go off. Like Fraser is very mad today. I just
do not give a fuck at this point. My last video actually, this is the first video in ages I haven't censored swear words, and it's fully fucking monetized. So and the other ones which I censored shit was demonetized. So I'm like, I just don't care.
I think it's because YouTube detect the bleeps and think, wait, you swore that?
It's a Minecraft villager sound. I don't use a bleep. I even censor my mouth with the Minecraft villager.
Yeah, it's.
But right, let's just get into it. We're gonna talk about Game of Thrones.
Of course, we're going to talk about Game of Thrones. We're going to talk about it's just the series. It started so promisingly.
I mean, it didn't just start. It was amazing for. I would say 6 seasons because people have their problems with season 6, but the ending of season 6 had some of the best episodes.
I would say that I'd say 4.5 seasons because seasons 1 to 4 was amazing. Then the last half of season 6 was amazing. Season 5 and the beginning of season 6 was a bit.
Season 5 had some moments.
It definitely had some moments. Yeah,
season 5 was one of the only ones where they have actual good moments which aren't pulled from the book. Like Hard wasn't in the book. It might end up being in the book, but at this point, it's not in the book.
I'd say 4.5 seasons.
Yeah, so I just want to premise this with Game of Thrones is still my favorite show. And like, despite my obvious problems of season 8 and season 7, like we are like eternally grateful to the people that put the show together, like the production, the whole team, everyone who worked on it, other than 2 fucking, not going to say that word.
Yeah,
but
2 writers.
Yeah, 2 writers, D&D, who I am not a big fan of, and I don't think many people really are. The whole fandom is like at war right now. It is the war of the.
I'd say Battle of the Bust.
It's
all over again.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure we can all admit that at this point, season 8, regardless of if you liked it or not, was not to the standards of any other season, even season 7.
Yeah.
Are you agree on that?
See, because the problem is, it changed from a show that relied on politics and good writing to further the plot to just battles and CGI set pieces.
Yeah, lots of magic zombies. And I think because like I'm on season 2 right now, and I've been rewatching it, and it's amazing. And it's so fucking good, and it's all dialogue. The only times I don't actually enjoy the season 1s to 4, for the most part, actually are the sword fights, the battles. In the books, there aren't many fights. They're quite unique to the books. But in this, I think they shoved in a lot of extra fights purely to make it, when it first came out, look more appealing, because obviously big sword fights, everyone likes a big sword fight. So I'm more about the dialogue, and an interesting statistic was released of basically the words per minute on Game of Thrones has gradually gone down and down every single season. And season 1 to 4, it didn't really go down much, but then the later seasons,
it went down a lot.
And it's noticeable in season 8. There are so many like moments of where it's just people staring or walking.
Yeah, I was going to say something about, I know it's really bad for me to jump on the last episode immediately, but in the last episode, there was 0 dialogue for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was weird.
It felt really,
I mean, I think, let's just go through episode 1 to 7 and 1 to 6, sorry, and briefly give our thoughts on them. So episode 1, Winterfell. I could pass Winterfell.
I passed
because
it,
I foresaw it, and I thought that was very underwhelming, but it's episode 1 of a season.
Yeah, exactly.
The only problem was it was episode 1 of a 6-episode season. So I was like, if that was a 10-episode season, I would have actually liked that episode. I liked that it did reintroduce people, and like it did give like the meetups needed, like the Starks reunion with everyone.
Yeah, I felt that. Yeah, that episode in particular, the Game of Thrones had been gone for 2 years, as in you needed to get people to ease it.
You couldn't just go into the battle of you couldn't go into
immediately into the battle. Just immediately into like the build up to the battle, because you need to get. I think the one thing I didn't like about the episode was the amount of I'd say fan service in the first one. I think it's a victim of the entire season, but fan service in the first episode in particular felt like, it felt a bit over the top, because the writers, since it was ahead of the books, the writers felt a need to bring back people from earlier seasons where it was like, it's for those people who react to the show in bars and say, oh, I remember that guy. He was in that episode I watched a few years before. That's why I kind of, it felt a bit, tacky, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I didn't like about the episode.
But after that, we got on to episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And genuinely, I've just had to read the description, because I cannot remember what happens other than Jon telling Daenerys he's a Targaryen. That's all I can remember from that whole episode.
Legit. I've watched so many reviews, I genuinely don't remember the second episode.
Yeah, what happened in the second, other than the Targaryen?
Wait, was Sam telling Jon in episode 1 or 2?
I'm guessing it was 1?
Because it went on 2. Because, wait.
It must have been 1. It must have been
1 or something.
That just shows.
I remember what happened in 1 now.
Go on.
The ending. That's when they found the kid.
Yeah.
Remember, and then they found the kid that was like, had turned into a White Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just remember that was the last scene.
But it's like, I think that really is a good explanation of how we feel about this show, because it's like there's a whole episode where we can't remember what happens. Like that in a 6-episode season, that really shouldn't be happening. Like it should be a case of like we remember every fucking episode. The rumor a year ago where it's like, oh yeah, every episode's gonna be a feature-length film, man.
Oh, I remember how excited. Remember before the broadcast, even on the podcast, we were so excited that all the episodes are gonna be really long,
2 hours long,
like 2 hours long. All of them films.
Fuck, were they recording for 2 years other than fucking reshoots? Was that it? Just reshoots?
I'm pretty sure it was reshoots, because if you look at in the 2 years between the seasons, a lot of the actors had been busy on other works, I believe. I'm trying to remember, because like I felt that there was a limbo. Maybe they didn't even start recording until 1 year. There was 1 year to go.
Mate, I would not be fucking shocked. Genuinely, it's so insane that 2 of them episodes, honestly, I don't think required longer than a month to record. Genuinely. the first 2 episodes. Now, The Long Night, I can understand why that took so long.
Yeah.
That's episode 3. Probably for me, I'd say the most disappointing, but every episode got worse and worse.
Yeah, I'd say for what they built up, for 8 seasons of build up, to just have that one episode feel, it felt...
That was meant to be like the Helm's Deep or the Battle of Minas Tirith.
Yeah, it was. It was meant to be the Helm's Deep of the whole franchise. You're meant to look at it and look back at it.
Yeah, that was meant to be Helm's Deep, and the Battle of King's Landing was meant to be like Minas Tirith, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just shit. And I'm not that much of a complainer about the thing you couldn't see, because I think what they were trying to go for was, like, weirdly enough, the realism in a show about zombies and stuff. But I feel like Game of Thrones has mastered the combination of mythical things and realism. Like, you can see these big dragons, but for some reason it still makes sense in like seasons 1 to 4 when the dragons start to appear, whereas in season 8 it just forgets its own rules. That's the problem. Game of Thrones forgets the rules.
D&D forgets the rules.
And people have been complaining things like the MCU have progressively been forgetting their own rules, which I don't think is particularly as true. I'm trying to think of an example. I don't think the MCU has time travel. I don't think the MCU has many rules, really. But Game of Thrones it has rules. Game of Thrones is bigger and better than the MCU. Like it's in terms of complexity, it's much more and far more complex.
Because the MCU is literally, it's like a modern version. It's basically like an alternate reality version of the world that we're currently living in. Game of Thrones is basically like it's like Tolkien. It's like J.R. Tolkien's like Middle Earth. It's kind of like Middle Earth, but more compact.
It's a genuine world which is meant to be like, it's like an alternative reality in a way. It's a place where you can really think actually existed, whereas the MCU is a thing which
it's Earth 616, which is an alternate version of the current Earth.
Yeah, but this one just seems to not have many rules.
Yeah, there's no rules established.
That's why people like superhero films,
because it's like they break the rules regularly to...
Yeah, and that's why people like things like Deadpool, because the rules are being broken every fucking minute of the film, whereas Game of Thrones, people enjoy it because of the realism.
And how it's set rules, as in, you see Game of Thrones before watching it, going in blind, you think it's a generic fantasy series which has a bunch of all that kind of stuff you watch on BBC at like 8 p.m. But then you watch it and it's like, wait... It's kind of a realistic it's a realistic depiction of a fantasy environment.
Yeah, and there was history. There's
history in it.
There's so much history. They've got 5 prequels on the way.
Yeah, as in what made the show so good in the earlier seasons was because everything was explained normally. It wasn't like exposition dumps. You could see the world that they're living in. And they, like, you know how like the legend of like the Mad King and everything, how they talked about the Mad King before and how Jaime's reputation was based on what happened before the series even started. That's good writing. Yeah. It doesn't require you to go sit down like in the later seasons and sit down and say, do you know this happened? Let's go to a flashback.
I think this moves straight onto the elephant in the room of Daenerys Targaryen, because she's obviously the most controversial character now. It's a shame, and it's very weird because I have this belief, and I told you it, that at the beginning of Game of Thrones, the first 3 seasons, Kit Harington as Jon Snow was fantastic. He was the perfect Jon Snow.
He was.
Emilia Clarke as Daenerys wasn't very good. She had some good moments, but her acting wasn't exactly amazing.
Yeah, she was growing as an actor.
But it flip-flopped. Season 8, Emilia Clarke was fantastic.
Yeah.
She literally got given a dog shit script, and she had to like make something of it. I mean, I'm just going to quickly throw straight forward into it, of the scene of when she's on her dragon about to burn down King's Landing, and right to this day, we still do not know the thing that made her mind just tick.
Yeah, like what was going... I've seen so many threads and everything just saying what was going through her mind at that moment.
What made... Was it the bells? Was it the thought of seeing Cersei? And Emilia Clarke... Imagine if it wasn't Emilia Clarke and it was just a regular standalone actor. She actually had to like somehow form some form of emotion. I think the emotion came from the fact that she knew her character was about to be ruined.
Yeah.
But it's Daenerys... It's a weird one because people don't seem to understand that. I guess a lot of dedicated fans aren't mad at the fact she became the Mad Queen. Yep. People are mad at how it happened.
How quickly it happened.
Because it could have been a good storyline. It could have been a genuine, bitter, sweet, like George R. R. Martin promised, storyline. Because this character that everyone has loved turns, not randomly, she turns evil.
Yeah.
But she turns into her father. And the whole thing, some YouTubers said it. They said they didn't like it, but I don't think it was that bad of a plot. Basically, the ancestry of the Targaryen house has developed mental illness because incest fucks up your body and your mind. And it gets to the point of that's why the Targaryens began to go crazy, because they are incest.
Yeah.
So, and it becomes a mental health thing, and it shows the whole time Daenerys has been kind of fighting a mental illness, which is causing her to go mad, pretty much, just like her father had. Mm-hmm. So it would be a case of there are flashes of Daenerys going mad, even though she doesn't kill millions of innocents. Yeah. She does. There are some times where she doesn't seem to show empathy. For example, when her brother died, I feel like even if your brother was an evil cunt, you would still not really want to watch your brother have gold mounted over his head.
That also reminds me of another scene, like, you know, when like in season, this was season 6, right? When Sansa executed Ramsay.
Yeah.
You could see like the initial impact of the dogs, like the dogs going at Ramsay. Sansa like cringed, like she recoiled, where it was like, that's kind of painful. You're watching someone, even though he was the most evil bastard on the whole show, or one of the most evil bastards on the whole show,
probably
you'd still saw like his face starting to get ripped off by these dogs. So Sansa like cringed a bit and then slowly continued watching. You didn't see that kind of stuff with Daenerys when her brother died.
So the seeds were there, but for some reason the seeds randomly turned into 50-foot trees.
Yeah, you know? Pretty much.
Like it was so weird and random, and it is just bad writing. And I do not understand how anyone can so desperately defend this, because I would love to call this a good season, because it's clear. I don't get the mindset of people saying people just want to hate the show. We've all watched this show for about 9 years now.
Why would you suddenly want to hate the show?
Yeah, it's like if Lord of the Rings had 2 amazing films, The Fellowship of the Ring and The Twin Towers, and then randomly we want the Return of the King, for example, is shit. It's not. It's amazing. But if it was shit, we wouldn't want it to be shit.
I'd say a better analogy would be like Hobbit. Like you'd say the Hobbit.
Nobody wanted the Hobbit to be shit, but it was shit.
Yeah.
Well, painfully average, not really shit. But
I'd say painfully average, and it's because it's coming off the coattails of like one of the best fantasy film series of all time. Then it's like you're going to get a problem with people saying that it's bad. Yeah. The problem is with Game of Thrones, no one's looking to hate it. Yeah. No one looks to hate it.
Everyone fully acknowledged that this show was the best show of all time, but now Breaking Bad has that title.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I think people were still like, it was between Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones.
I think for the most part, I think people did believe that
Game of Thrones had Breaking Bad beat for some time. But that's the thing. Breaking Bad's finale setup was so well. Breaking Bad's final season tied up so many loose ends so well. People were expecting Game of Thrones to be like, HBO's new The Sopranos or the new Wire, where it was so good all the way through. But then you notice a quality drop by season 7, where it's like, are you sure? People are starting to worry. They're like, last season has all of this. It needs to be good, or else, like, when people came in with feature-length episodes, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, we're going to get season 1 to 4 writing with the battles. That's what everyone was expecting, but not what we got.
But again, as I watched a video, the problem, even with feature-length episodes, is in some of these episodes, it felt like you were watching 2 different episodes. The last episode, for example, it went from this dark episode of where Daenerys was giving this like Nazi-esque speech, and then fucking Jon tragically stabs her, and
you see like Tyrion and Jon have that conversation, which I'm going to get into later, but they have the conversation, and then it just
turns into like, okay guys, let's pick the king, we're gonna have some funny moments, Tyrion's gonna move some chairs, Brienne's gonna write in a book, and we're gonna send everyone off and have a happy ending. It's like, this is the same episode. Game of Thrones is famous for having the penultimate moment of the season in the episode before, and then the final episode kind of wraps things up in a way. And I guess a lot of people, when it's coming out, have like, that's not as fun. But when you watch it back from 1 to 6,
when you binge
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yep.
But with this, it's like then 2 episodes are in 1, and it just makes no sense, and it's horrible pacing. The writing's horrible. Jon stabbing Daenerys, that's great. That actually fulfills one prophecy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But the way it happened felt really like, It felt. It's just the writing.
I think and the moment wasn't great, but I'm saying is the narrative of Jon. If the things were played out,
the concept of Jon doing that.
If there was 2 seasons of Daenerys going mad and trying to take over the world, and then Jon copies Jaime Lannister and kills the queen rather than the king,
exactly,
it would be a good narrative sense. He had to kill his lover. It's bittersweet, but then other characters. This is the thing. There was only one character in the whole thing that faced a consequence, and that was the villain. For the first time in Game of Thrones, they made a actual villain other than the Night King. So basically, every single character for the last 7 seasons has had they've had good things about them and reasons other than, I think, Ramsay.
It's grey morality.
Even Ramsay had some things. He did want to please his father, and he did fucking kill his father, but he wanted to please his father.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the grey morality that's what people liked. All of them, it wasn't black and white.
There was no good and there was no evil.
Yeah.
Well, that probably was evil.
No, there was evil, but it was evil with a reason.
Yeah, and there wasn't really... The only good character, genuinely good and completely true to his name, got killed in the first season.
Yep.
Ned Stark. He was too honourable and he died. Mm-hmm. Look at when you go into season 2 and it's the Battle of the Five Kings. There's not much honour there, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Robb Stark wasn't like his dad. He was more Tywin Lannister.
Mm-hmm.
There was throughout the whole thing, Tywin was basically respectful towards Robb. He acknowledged that he was a good war guy. He was good in combat. He won 3 battles in a row. And it got to the point of where people were being dirty. Even Stannis, who was loved, killed his own brother with blood magic. Mm-hmm. But he was still loved because there was actual, like you said, grey moral reasons there to do these things. But with this season 8, they made a Darth Vader. They had to go out and paint this person out to be a villain. They randomly got Cersei to die with Jaime, and that's also convenient. So it's fucking... how have I forgotten his name?
Wait, who?
Jaime versus Greyjoy.
Wait, fuck.
Euron. Sorry,
Euron.
My mind was
going Euron. Wait, yeah.
But that was also convenient when Euron doesn't get killed by a dragon. The whole ship's on fire, and then he swims to the bay. So conveniently climbs onto the bay the moment Jaime Lannister gets on there, and they conveniently have the worst fight in the entire show.
Yeah, it was.
And then he somehow dies because of the injury, and I know people will say, okay, he was going to die anyway because the thing collapsed on him. Why did they not just leave that place and try to escape like anyone else would? Like, why, realistically, Cersei was pregnant with his child. Why did they just wait in there? Why did they not just try and leave? Even if they were to die, they were still going to die fucking anyway.
Yeah,
so
but
why
that's
not
the thing.
leave?
But it was like, it was character bastardization the whole season round. Like, there was literally, the whole thing about villains. There was literally one new villain every episode. Like, episode 3, Night King. Episode 4, Cersei. Episode 5, Daenerys. Episode 6, then Grey Worm. And then, like, it's...
And it also, the scene when, one of the last scenes... in the whole thing of Jaime's character arc, he says that he doesn't care about the people, despite he is he's the character that has betrayed his family's name, his own honor, made everyone in the kingdom basically mock him and laugh him for the rest of his life because he stabbed somebody in the back to protect the realm and protect the people. So this whole thing, which has been the main fire to his character arc, now is irrelevant because he says he doesn't care about the people and he just makes himself out to be a dickhead. Pretty much. Just a dickhead. Yeah. It's like all these seasons, and people would be like, well, it's Game of Thrones, man, it's brutal, it's not like that. Yeah, but
at least it's well written and you can see it coming.
It's well written, not just hold up, I actually kind of like that bloke I was with 3 episodes ago who had just left. Like, where's the time development here as well? It's 3 episodes before he just left.
Exactly. So how the hell did he get there?
You also have to think, in 4 episodes, he's gone from King's Landing to
all
Winterfell,
the way to
then Winterfell. He stayed there and then came back and then somehow found Cersei and had a big old fight with Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah, the geography
somehow didn't die getting there.
Yeah, the geography of the entire thing has been completely messed up.
It's
like,
mental.
Do you know what made me like a bit like really mad as well? The way they took Grey Worm, who was like a likable, relatable, like, is a loyal character, turned him into a dickhead in 1 episode.
I can see why he was angry because obviously
I can see why.
To turn into like this
fucking murdering prick.
Yeah, like
I thought Jon was gonna duel him right then and there.
That would have actually been good writing.
Because
Jon would have been like, hold up, you're killing loads of people and you're leading these people. Maybe I should fight you. Oh no, wait, I'm a secondary character now, just like Tyrion's also.
She's my queen.
Yeah, it's like Jon Snow had. I feel so bad for Kit Harington.
I feel so bad for him, man.
I swear in his writing it would have been like, do that awkward smile you do and then do that awkward straight face you do.
Yeah,
and just do that for 6 episodes.
And then just say she's my queen.
Yeah.
Like, he's the queen. I'm like...
Yeah, it was just that. And like... there's a big fly.
I know there's been a big fly. I've been ignoring it the entire time. No, yeah, it's buzzing around really loudly,
really
but yeah.
Annoying. Hold on. Continue speaking. I'm gonna get it out.
Yeah, well, you need to open the windows. But anyway, so the problem that I have with Jon, with like Kit Harington, did you see that? You've seen the documentary, right? Like you watched the Game of Thrones documentary. I watched it yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
And during the table read, so there was so in any TV show and any film, I guess, I think they didn't do this for in Endgame and Infinity War, but they normally have a table read where they read the entire script with all the cast and the crew and the script writers and everything.
Sorry, but can people hear that audio? Does it appear on your laptop?
It doesn't appear on my laptop, and also I can it's very noise cancelling. So. What happens during a table read is that the table during the table read they'd they'd read through the script, right?
Yeah.
The entire
team.
team.
They do it with quite a lot of things, don't they?
Yeah, they didn't do it for Endgame and Infinity War because they were like, there was the script kept being changed and they didn't want access to know about everything on the script. Now, Kit Harington specifically said he wouldn't read the script of the last episode. He wanted to react to it in real time.
Yeah.
Emilia Clarke did. I'm not sure whether you guys have seen it.
Slid down the table.
Yeah, I don't. Like, you guys probably have seen it on Twitter by now or on social media. But if you look at it, watch the reaction when Kit reads that Jon kills Daenerys in that episode. If you look at the script, you see Kit's reaction like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
And you see Emilia Clarke's reaction just sliding down in her seat and cringing.
Like Kit Harington, his like reaction looked like something he could have been upset because of it happened, but you look at Emilia Clarke and she's like actually cringing.
Like she was dying to tell Jon what happened. Well, not Jon. She was dying to tell Kit what happened, but it was like, he couldn't say anything. As in,
they just appeared to dislike it.
Yeah, like. Speaking of the table read as well, the actor for Varys, the actor who plays him, I felt his pain. Yeah. I felt his pain while reading the way he died.
Yeah.
The way he died in that scene. That was episode 2, right? Or was that episode 3?
No.
It was after episode 4. No. It was second last episode, sorry. The way he died, I could feel like it was pain to be... He was blessed with good writing the whole show.
Oh yeah, he was literally the only character who stayed true to himself.
Yeah, and he was blessed with writing, like his really brilliant writing the whole show.
People will complain that he turned on Daenerys very quickly, but if you go back and watch season 1 and season 2, you'll be very confident in knowing that he actually wanted Daenerys dead originally, and he only changed to Daenerys after he saw how much of a monster the Lannisters turned into. I mean, they're already monsters, but
Yeah.
So it's like, I think he had very accurate writing, because obviously Joffrey died in the first season, second season, Joffrey turned into a monster, and then he thought, fuck this, I'm gonna go find a new queen or king, and Daenerys was the only option. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I also want to say another massive issue which I didn't notice until the last few days is, what the fuck happened to winter? Because it was winter. It was winter.
Yes.
But it was a nice little bit of snow. For the fucking 8 seasons, they've been saying
winter
20 foot, 30 foot snow. And it's like in the peak of the realm, other than the beyond the wall, the north, the snow is like... It's melting in some parts. It's like, it's not even that heavy. It's like peak winter, and the snow isn't. There's not 30 foot of snow.
There's not enough budget for it.
Yeah, there's no fucking. When the Night King was coming in, there was no these giant ice spiders they were hyping up. Where were the giant ice spiders?
Well, we want a polar bear. I just can't get over it. Quickly unrelated before we get back to it, but I remember at the end of every Game of Thrones episode, I used to look forward to the behind the scenes that they show. It was like in when Doctor Who was broadcasting, I used to look forward to the behind the scenes that they broadcast every time after each episode. The last 2 seasons though, the last season, it was literally just, it used to be showing like all the production and the behind the scenes of like how they get to doing all the stuff technically. Season 8 was just D&D sitting in a studio trying to explain the shit writing choices that they did.
No, it has been that. It's so crazy that they need these like epilogues to explain.
They never used to explain this in the earlier seasons. There was no explanation. They just showed how they did these scenes. Now, season 7 was already some red flags when they were doing like, oh, we begged HBO to do this, that, and the other.
Season 7 was a big red flag, and I saw it, but I did what fans do now, and I just said, I just had fangoggles on, and I was like, it's going to get better, it's going to get better.
It will only get better.
It's going to make sense. Things are going to add up, but it didn't fucking add up.
That's the thing. I remember when they announced that it was just ahead of the books. Like when they announced that, because I wasn't as invested to the franchise as everyone was. I read the first 2 books, and I need to catch up again because I haven't read them in a while, but I know about the general lore of the books.
Yeah.
But then when they said, like, when it was ahead of the books and they said, oh, the show's ahead of the books, I was like, this
Danger.
It could genuinely go all downhill from here.
And it did.
Like, it kind of did. Because the books had such a high standard of writing and everything. Remember back in season, I think
when
it was
you
season
watch
3?
season 1 and you listen to some of the quotes, you just know it's George R. R. Martin. Even the way people speak in the show went downhill because it was a lot of like Old English.
It was Old English, but the Old English worked in the show. It felt like they were speaking it.
It gradually left it though.
Yeah, it was like, she's my queen from the north. I don't want it.
Literally, it just everything declined.
And then like
much.
Tyrion's dialogue where he used to like Tyrion's. I'll probably say one of the best scenes I'd watched on Game of Thrones with Peter Dinklage's acting was the speech and the confession that he made in season 4 to like the demanding a trial by combat. That is brilliant writing all the way through the entire season. Yeah. And then he got reduced to him saying, "Oh, I have a bigger cock than you." And see, that was my first red flag. That was his first line of dialogue in season 8. Just talking, just talking about his cock. I was like, oh god. I was like,
it's crazy how much the Tyrion, his character, just got destroyed.
He
didn't do anything for 4 seasons other than fail, and then the only redeeming quality about episode 8 is he actually did have a smart moment after Daenerys had died. He actually resolved everything, but
then it was like,
but that is Tyrion though.
I know. I was like saying, but even then, if you think about the way the narrative of the series has gone this entire time, is that the lore of the series is like, no matter how noble you are and no matter how smart you are, a fuck up could ruin you completely. Like Ned Stark was the most noble person, could have solved every problem in the series in about 2 episodes and almost did. He fucked up once. And it was a tiny fuck up.
Trusted Littlefinger.
And that cost him dearly.
It's insane. And the worst thing is, I see loads of people saying we need to reboot the franchise, and I don't doubt it's going to get rebooted in 10 years or something, maybe even not 10 years.
I'd say there's going to be another, because George R. R. Martin he did sell the rights to,
so he's not lent them.
He hasn't, I'm not, it's not like a question of James Cameron like lending them to a company. I think Warner Bros. And AT&T own the rights, like the physical rights to A Song of Ice and Fire and its adaptations.
Okay.
And I think it's at George R. R. Martin's discretion that he can sanction a series or not, because he treats Game of Thrones as a separate thing to his books.
Yeah, he does. Because it's completely different at this point.
The
Night King isn't even in the book.
Exactly, that was original.
I mean, they're not even called White Walkers in the book. They're called the Others.
That's the thing. It could have been so good. Like the Night King himself. It was as a threat. He was the main kind of threat in the marketing. He was
the only thing in the whole show which could have been plausible as an actual villain.
Yeah.
Because I complained that they made a villain, but the Night King has always been a villain. And but you still do not know his reasons, and you hoped you were going to get explained the reasons.
Because there's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue, and you were hoping that the season 8 was going to be everyone thought season 8 was going to be White Walkers. They thought White Walker season. That's what it's going to be.
That's exactly how they did the branding for the entire season. Like it showed like
the Night King on the throne.
There was like the teaser posters on the throne. Then the main poster showed snow and winter and like dead bodies in the snow, and everyone thought winter is here. Holy shit!
It's honestly so confusing to me that he was in it for one episode pretty much.
Yep.
Like it really is weird. It really is actually quite baffling and frustrating when you think about it. Like this whole season, everything from the fucking first scene of the whole show is based on these things, these White Walkers, but it lasts for a fucking episode.
And not even much of that episode as well. Like the build up was okay. It's like It's weird because I constantly make jokes about the episode. Like I don't think the episode exists because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see anything in that episode. But like
I don't even care about Arya killing the Night King. I'm like, okay, like I don't.
Arya killing the Night King. There was a bunch of stuff that I could have I know I could have said. I've made loads of points saying narratively anyone else could have done it, but it's not the act of her doing it. It's the fact that the Night King's been hyped up the whole show.
Yeah, and it's just like. I don't know. I just didn't feel anything this whole season. I felt nothing. When Daenerys died, when Daenerys Targaryen dies,
you should be like, oh my god, you should be.
That should be a bigger death than most deaths in anything. That should be level of like Iron Man dying. But it was.
That should be like Tony. Yeah, exactly. Like Tony Stark, like dying, and it'll be like, oh my god, end of an era.
Yeah, but it just. I laughed, I think.
I remember when that happened.
Down the throne, I didn't actually mind that, but I still fucking laughed.
I remember the moment when it happened, I was like, I paused that and I was like, no. It was so anticlimactic as well when he stabbed her. I was like, wait, did he stab her? Yeah, exactly. Did he stab her? Is this a dream sequence or something?
Yeah, I was like, that was so weird. I thought they were going to hug and then they were going to continue and Jon was going to be like, I need to kill her. But no, it's like, see you later.
Because it's like the way, because I'm gonna be devil's advocate here and try and explain what probably they were thinking that the scene would do to people. I'm like, so this previous scene before, which I felt was kind of try hard writing from D&D, but that was between Jon and Tyrion was well written. I can give them that, but it was so ham-fisted. It was like Tyrion explaining the madness of Daenerys. Like it was Tyrion explaining that. As it continues on, you'll slowly see a monarch or anyone get slowly madder, and that's D&D explaining to the fans saying, oh, you can't get mad about Daenerys becoming mad because it's foreshadowing, but it felt like try hard, but it was well written from Tyrion nonetheless.
They knew the writing was shit.
So amazing. They tried to explain it away using Tyrion. Now, I felt that whole sequence of Tyrion telling Jon and Jon saying, oh, she's my queen. Then Jon witnessing Daenerys being really odd in person was what caused Jon to like turn on Daenerys. But that felt so ham-fisted. It felt quick. It felt quick, as in it was like it took Jon so long for Tyrion, like Tyrion's writing, and then Daenerys being really weird for Jon to be like, wait, maybe something is wrong. Yeah. So let me go kill her. I'm like, it felt so. It was just too fast. Just stuff like Breaking Bad. You wouldn't have this in Breaking Bad.
You wouldn't have this in old Game of Thrones. Like it could have worked, but it should have worked. It could have worked, but it was just like. There was so much damage at this point, you couldn't fix it. Like, it was just broken. The whole thing was broken. Yeah. The moment Euron Greyjoy came into the show, it went to shit.
Oh my goodness. Okay, no. I think I've saved a thread about this, but one thing about Euron, in the books...
He's insane.
He's insane in the books. And I was like, okay, you can kind of treat him as insane because he aimed 3 arrows at the dragon and shot all 3, but like...
How the fuck did they ruin Euron Greyjoy? I think fucking D&D the night before with their kids who were watching fucking Pirates of the Caribbean or some shit, because like it was that wank. I was like, why is he this sex obsessed fucking drunk?
No, they saw like Davy Jones.
He's not that in the book. Clarify. I haven't read the book in a few years, but
he is not that in the books.
He's like a fucking warlord in the book.
He's a warlord who I'm pretty sure he's a wizard, like sorcerer, like pretty much.
He has actual magical stuff, and he has Where was this crew? Where was his crew? Because he had a specific crew with their tongues cut out. The silent crew or some shit like that. And it's like, where was all that? They just got some random fucking dickhead who literally had just the regular Greyjoy fleet. Yeah. And it was like...
You've also highlighted what one of my problems with the first episode was. The way, let's say, Euron gets introduced and then he's saying that, oh, I want to fuck you, Cersei. I want to fuck you in the ass or something. And Cersei's like, oh, you want a thing? You want a fleet? You earn it. You want a queen? You earn your queen. That very same episode, I'm pretty sure not 5 to 10 minutes later, they're shagging. They're pretty much shagging.
And also, I think it demeans Euron's character to bend so easily to Cersei.
That's exactly.
I don't know if George is going to go with that in the books, but I just feel like he wouldn't be like that submissive. Really.
Yeah, like one thing that everyone tries to defend Game of Thrones is that saying this is what George R. R. Martin wanted. This is not what he wanted.
If he wanted this, he would share the fucking episodes on his Twitter
exactly.
page.
What the plan that he gave D&D, I'm pretty sure was with the mindset with him and HBO thinking that D&D would have one more season and 10 episodes.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
What happened with Game of Thrones is basically they had is it four? It's 4 books, 5 books.
Yeah,
5 books. Yeah,
5 books with the upcoming 2.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe even 6 books.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of fucking books. They had a bunch of books and a bunch of lore. They had actual quotes, writing, all there, thousands and thousands of pages of literature to go off. And then they got told the ending when they made the show, and then they got told 3 bombshells, which was confirmed by George, and 2 of the bombshells released, but the first one never got released. And I'm guessing it's Daenerys kills Jon, or Bran becomes the king, something like that.
Probably.
But the problem is, after the books went, they then got given little sprinkles from George of certain things that happened. So he gave them the main points of Daenerys going mad, Euron killing a dragon, something like that. He gave these main points. Then he gave the ending of the Night King. Maybe not the Night King, but the ending.
He'd say, well, what becomes of the others?
Yeah, what becomes of them? And he gave the little points for the big points, but he didn't give them, understandably, any information between that to build it. Whereas the reason Game of Thrones is so successful and so wonderful as a series is because when you watch the older series, is you get your. Whenever I used to watch Game of Thrones, I used to always hope, is Daenerys in this episode? Is Jon in this episode? Because I really want to see them. I really want to see the dragons. I really want to see that mythical part because it was teased to us for little sprinkles. But it's so many plots and so many characters are being shown. Just like in the books, the chapters are from characters' perspectives.
Exactly.
But in this, it's just we're in Winterfell.
It's like a bam, we're here.
Now we're in King's Landing.
Now we're in Winterfell again.
It's just King's Landing and Winterfell. It's just Jon and Daenerys, and it's just Cersei and Euron. There's no other characters. But then at the ending, there's about 10 lords and ladies. Yeah. There's randomly, the Knights of the Vale, they're back.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
Dawn's back. A new Lord of Dawn, which you didn't actually get his name. Oh, that guy Edward Tully, he's still alive. It's a funny moment for him, you know.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like, I hate doing Marvel comparisons. It's like an Endgame, that funeral scene where everyone is there. Yeah. That is clear fan service, but it was earned.
They are fucking allowed to
be there. This one is like, I saw the guy, I recognize him.
Because realistically, with Tony Stark's funeral, it didn't make too much sense that Hank Pym was there. Because Hank Pym did not.
And we've
respect.
made a point that he
would have
probably
maybe done some form of toast to him, but I don't think Hank Pym would have gone to the funeral. But they're allowed to fucking do it because they had a great film. And
they had a great film and good build up to that moment.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones did not earn shit.
Yeah, there was because like some of the people on the small council, why was Bronn master of Corn?
Why was Bronn put on
and also Samwell Tarly as well? He is not a maester. He has not done his teaching. He's not done his training. He doesn't know much compared to. He shouldn't be the High Sept. That's what he is now.
I'm pretty sure he is.
He shouldn't be that. He shouldn't be there.
I remember,
should fucking be there.
That's another thing.
The only one that should fucking be on that council is Tyrion. That's
and even then, Tyrion's fucked up so much throughout the season. He should be dead. He really should be dead.
Who else was on there?
So we got Brienne is just doing something else.
Brienne, the Kingsguard, completely fair. She is
that is the most fair one. I think as a character, apart from Jaime like fucking her over, she's probably
we are going to ignore episode up until the last part of the final episode. We're going to ignore episode 5, 4, 3, and 2 of Brienne of Tarth. We're going to ignore them, and we're going to say she's one of the best characters in the show because she is. Also for Emilia Clarke, I would say top 4 actors in the show.
You know what? Top 4. I think the problem is the top actors of the show are all dead. As in, they're all dead in context of the show.
Oh, so I would say Tyrion best actor.
Peter Dinklage throughout the entire thing, yes, because he had the highest of the high moments, but he also has some pretty low moments as well. I'd say the person Charles Dance, the actor for Tywin.
God, I miss Tywin. That's what I want to get on. Carry on, and I'll get on to my point.
As in, I'd say Charles Dance. Who else? I'd say, ironically, Pedro Pascal as Oberyn Martell. Even in the short episodes he was in,
he was very, very.
He was very, very good. Yeah, and also, I'd say pretty much the highlights of everyone's acting.
Jamie Lannister.
Yes, Nicola Costa. Well done. I think I probably fucked up his pronunciation, but he's probably one of the best actors that came out of Game of Thrones as well. Yes. I'd say that all of them have kind of, they've said D&D from what they've given have done okay with the show, but they all agree that the show could have been better, but they couldn't ask for what you know. And
I don't think they want to slate the show because it wouldn't. I don't really want the actors to come out and slate the show until like 5 years maybe. Because I feel like that would leave more of a sour taste.
And also who acted as well. I can't remember his name. Let me get his name. I can't remember his name. The person who plays Varys.
Oh, Ramsay Bolton as well.
Oh, I'm Ramsay Bolton as well. Yeah.
Very good actor. But yeah, there are plenty.
Conleth. Yeah, that's his name.
I don't even want to talk about. I don't want to say anyone with bad actors because, like, at the end of the day, I appreciate everyone's performances. Yeah, and nobody was, other than some of the Sand Snakes, nobody was terrible.
No one was terrible. As in, you could look at some of the episodes and say it's not their highest moment, that's not their proudest moment. Yeah. But
like Emilia Clarke obviously has some bad performances in the first few episodes, but then she really came into the role. She
came into her into her own form in just the later seasons. I would say
Emilia Clarke is a top actor,
and I myself, I'm probably going to move on a bit from the actors for now.
Can I get onto one thing?
Yeah, make your point.
It was I think a big problem the show had, which I don't think the books have because George is a great writer, is it lost loads of, I said this to you the other day, it lost the Charles Dancers of the show. It lost the big old actors who've had so much experience. And I also think these actors wouldn't be afraid to go to the script writers and be like, this is shit.
And they write something.
Big actors do this. Big actors, if they see a shit script, for the most part, other than Will Smith, will say this script is wank, or
not even just this script is wank during the
projects. And that doesn't happen with Game of Thrones because these actors are young and this is what their career's been built on. Whereas Charles Dance, he has a big career.
He does what he wants. They literally does what he wants.
There's some actors which just do what they want, and I think Leonardo DiCaprio is probably one of them.
He's one of them, but that's the thing though. He does that because he takes good scripts from good people that he doesn't need changes.
I think you needed some powerful figures who are old men and women in there.
We're not being ageist, by the way.
No, we're being anything but
it's
like
they've got the experience.
Actors are what you need.
That's what made Harry Potter so good.
Yeah, we spoke about this as well. Yeah. The first 2 films of Harry Potter, the children in that film were actually abysmal. Their acting was shockingly bad.
As in the acting wasn't good, but they had those actors, those old veteran. You had the top British actors of all time. Yeah. They've come from Shakespeare. They've done all this stuff. They've guided them for 10 years.
And they carried the whole thing up until Daniel Radcliffe,
of age and everything,
Grint became actual really good actors.
And
Emma Watson as well. That's the name, isn't it?
Emma Watson. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what Game of Thrones needed. As in,
they did have it because they did have. After season 4, Emilia Clarke was really good.
Yeah.
Even the actor, I know Peter Dinklage is. He's an
Peter Dinklage has always been like really
but
good.
He really came in. He really came to role in like season 4.
Yeah.
And I think it helps being around people like Charles Dance.
And even though, but to be fair, Peter Dinklage did have other series as well. He was in the X-Men series.
He's a good actor.
But that also leads into another point. Like, the writing was so good, but then the actors sold the roles so well, like Tywin and Stannis as well.
Stannis Brock,
both of them. And even Joffrey as well. I love the guy who plays Joffrey. I can't remember his name. He was.
This is the problem of if they reboot the show. How are they going to recast Game of
Thrones? They cannot. I don't think they will ever want to reboot the show completely. They can't do that. They'd have to They'd have to pull a Watchmen. They'd have to pull a Watchmen and do it after.
What's that?
As in, by Watchmen, as in what the new HBO Watchmen series is.
You mean make a sequel?
Make some sort of sequel ahead of with George R. R. Martin support.
This is, I think, I can't remember who video. It might have been Captain Minute, one of them YouTubers. Somebody said how they ended it actually ended it like they were planning a sequel, because there were so many loose ends, but I don't think they were planning it. I think the writing was just shit.
I think the writing was we ended it because they wanted to get the fuck out.
Valeria. Oh, I mean, I that's my guess. He's going to Valeria.
But Bran could have checked where he was, and Bran could have gone to check where he was.
There is actually a very good potential for the sequel to be good, because Bran, they believe he's a good king, but
Bran the broken. I can't get. I still can't get over that.
Wheelchair.
Bran the legs no feeling.
No, I think the reason it would be good is because they have a king who isn't humane, and that's really good. That could be a really good storyline, and then they could continue on. We could have another War of the Five Kings or some shit like that.
Exactly.
But the only problem with the next, if there was a sequel, would be there are no old people. These elite generals and warlords aren't in it anymore because they're all dead.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
Fucking dead.
Game of Thrones had literally turned into young people.
It's like a young adult.
And I know everyone is younger in the books, but still, like, it is just everyone is a young adult.
It turns into a young adult novel.
Yeah, it did. It literally did. Like, there was, it was just odd. It was really, really odd.
Yeah, and it's also, I'm gonna go a bit about about the production value of the show. Now, Game of Thrones is by no means, even in season 1, because the common misconception people have with the early seasons of Game of Thrones is that they were cheap. No, they weren't.
We watched some episodes when at the Knights of the Vale, when Tyrion is about when Tyrion's going to the Knights of the Vale when he's been captured by the Starks. And there's that shot of where it shows the tower and it looks amazing. Yeah,
the show was, even as it started, even when the show started, it hit the press as being one of the most expensive shows ever to be made, even in season 1.
They had real faith in the book.
They had so much faith, and the budget kept increasing. The problem is when the budget increases so much that the writers don't need to do much work because it's down to the production team to make it look good, and that's the main problem that I had. I've clowned shit CGI all the time, and I'm going to say season 7 and 8, season 8 especially, they focused too much on the CGI aspect of the show that it made it a bit, that it sacrificed the writing. There were some wobbly
dragon scenes.
Like, there were so many like major dragon scenes because it's fan service, but it's also CGI.
Do you want to know who looked what the best CGI in the whole show was in the last season?
What?
Ironically, Ghost. Ghost looks really good.
Ghost looked really good, but that's because the Ghost was a mixture of practical effects as well.
And a dog.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Because Ghost originally was a dog. It was
it was. Yeah. And then they slightly So the dragons as well. I know they did the same thing like in the earlier seasons, but in the earlier seasons they did more to add more practical like effects to the show.
They had, I guess, when it comes to Drogon is massive. He's the reincarnation of Valeria.
But then even then they had him look pretty decent in the earlier seasons because he worked with the environment. The actors like Emilia Clarke works really well with CGI then. Kit Harington, and you could tell this as well, in season 8, everyone looked really weird around the show because it came from the earlier seasons where it was a set. It was a really big set design. And then season 8, I saw the people doing production behind it and they all did a good job, but it was less practical and more let's dump snow on the field, then put green screens around the whole thing.
There was some bad green screens in this season. The desert scene, that's like King's Landing.
That scene when Melisandre got executed. That scene where she got executed. I looked at it.
It's so weird. And I don't see many people pointing out. It's like the green screen is bad.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
I've said people have said TV budget versus film budget. But the budget doesn't, like, it. The problem the show has is that it relied too much on those CGI set pieces. And you could tell that it was slightly rushed. Yeah. You could tell that it was rushed. Because
in a 2-year production. And none of the episodes... They made Infinity War in 2 years
and Endgame. They shot back to back. They made both of them in that time, and they had really good. They had bad CGI at times, but they had really, really good CGI. 12 VFX companies worked on Thanos.
Professor Hulk as well.
Yeah.
I think Professor Hulk arguably looks more believable than Thanos.
Yeah, that's what made it even better. Like, the thing with Marvel was that they did so much attention to detail in each of it. Granted,
and I think a lot of this goes down to Kevin Feige.
And granted, it did have one. Granted, Infinity War and Endgame are the second and third most expensive films ever made. Yeah. It's like, then it's understandable that it looks good.
If you're going to take a Titan, you have to give it a Titan budget.
But Game of Thrones, it looked like, you know, those YouTube films, you know, those like YouTube short films that you see people like Corridor Digital, Freddie Wong, those people who make. It looks like that.
I would say Game of Thrones production peaked in season 6.
It peaked in arguably season 7.
Watching how they made the Battle of the Bastards was one of the most interesting.
Yeah, I'd say the season 6's production but from the Battle of the Bastards all the way until the blowing up of the set.
Yeah,
that was pinnacle. That's pinnacle TV production design. Yeah. No show has done at the level of Game of Thrones did that. I remember even in my school, like at school, we studied the scene where the set was blown up.
Yeah,
we studied it because the amount of CGI that went into that whole segment was god tier. What season 8 turned into was set pieces after set pieces. Remember when I showed you that image.
The King's Landing thing wasn't even
remember when I showed you that image of King's Landing in season 2 versus King's Landing now. It was literally like in Lion King when Scar had taken over and everything looked like shit.
Yeah, it's weird. And also somebody pointed out that the fire in the second last episode looked bad. Apparently,
it was bad. So the problem that I had, it is a dragon. Like, you can't really do dragon breathing down. It was like, oh, let's get dragons breathing down on the whole thing and blowing up the building. Yeah. The problem is, everything then that you could tell that episode was pretty much full CGI at that point. Everyone there seemed fake. Yeah. That's what happens. It seemed fake. When the sept blew up in Game of Thrones, they had it so there was you could see some casualties, but it was well masked into the scene. So you'll be like, oh, these people died, but it kind of looks real, like the bell destroying things. When the dragon started destroying things, you could tell it was full CGI at that point, and it felt fake. That's all I can say. It felt fake. Yeah. Even
obviously it's dragons, so it has to be fake. But you could have made it more real.
You could make it more vivid, because I could get past the production design for that episode, because I think that one take where it showed it from the perspective of Arya as the whole scene was, as the whole place was being burnt to ashes, that was good in terms of camera movement. Yeah. Everything else about it felt really bad. As in, it felt like a really bad Total War screenshot. Yeah, yeah. Like when you see all the soldiers there, it just felt, it felt stuff could have done so much better, I guess. I feel it's just the production design. I hate going at the people that are behind the show, because the people behind the show, they did all they could. Yeah. They did all they could. It's just the writing. Yeah. And they will be blamed for something that the writers did wrong.
I could look past the dodgy-looking King's Landing if the writing was good. I said earlier, I don't care about these big fights. I want it to be good dialogue. I watch Game of Thrones for dialogue. I watch Game of Thrones for the
You watch Game of Thrones exactly. You watch Game of Thrones for the politics behind the scenes.
That's what made it interesting.
When it went ahead of the books, that's when it turned into a generic fantasy show with fights.
The Night King stuff was cool because even the narrative part of it was it wasn't just there was this big dude. There was actual symbols and stuff. There was actual history with the Children of the Forest. It still was political because the battle between the Children of the Forest and humanity, like it was cool. Like, there could have been a really good narrative thing going on there, but it just didn't.
Something that Ralph the Movie Maker brought up in his review of Game of Thrones, and so you should probably watch his one of season 7 and 8, is pretty decent, was the show didn't have the balls to go for one of those surreal kind of scenes in the later seasons. Hodor's death. Yeah. Hodor's death, when Bran went to the past and supplanted Hodor's old mind with his new one, which made him go on like a massive spaz attack on the floor. Yeah. That was like, you're watching that, you'll be like, what the fuck? And you'll also be like, whoa, this looks amazing.
And they just completely forgot that Bran could time travel.
Yeah, and they completely, like, you don't get those kind of scenes anymore. It's just like, let's have those high shutter speed camera angles, like one take fight scenes where it's like, when it happened in the Battle of the Bastards, it looked amazing. Yeah. When it kept happening in season 7 and 8, you'd be like, yeah. As in, it overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, pretty much. I think this. I just feel like a lot of Game of Thrones just basically played on the nostalgia of the earlier seasons, and then it just turned
like
into,
the nostalgia, the Clegane, but there's a Clegane ball.
Yeah. That I said there should have never been Clegane ball just because it was so predictable.
It was so predictable. You knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah,
and the way it all set up as well.
And I thought it was shit.
It was shit. And as in that whole callback scene with the mountain.
It would have been good because I thought that I actually turned to James when I was watching it. I was like, wait, are they going to kill Sandor Clegane? Is he actually going to die? Like, because that would actually be Game of Thrones. Because it was unexpected, but it wasn't just unexpected because it needed to be. It was like, whoa, there's actually a fight of where the guy who isn't meant to win wins, like it used to be.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, they're just going to have this epic. But jump into fire, which happens in all these Hollywood. Honestly, Game of Thrones turned into medieval fantasy Transformers.
I'm actually crying at some of these. It's like, oh my, they could have done so much, and it's like that whole fight scene.
Everyone looks past it like, yo, dude, the dragon was flying above them. It looked really cool, man. It's like,
but even then, the scene looked kind of shit, and it was like, okay. Do you know what? I just had the thought about it. That whole segment with the CGI and the way it was filmed and everything, it felt like Star Wars Episode 3.
It did, yeah.
It was literally Star Wars Episode Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It felt like that. Like, Mountain had the high ground, and then they jump into the fire as well, and they burn. And it's like, literally, like, when the Hound was shouting, like, oh, but die, like, die already. That literally was like when Anakin was like, I hate you. It felt.
Yeah, literally.
They're on to Star Wars next as well. I'm worried.
God, they are going to destroy that. It's already destroyed. But, this whole season relied on visuals, and it got to a point of where I was actually cringing, and I don't know if this is just because I hate season 8 so much, but there were some shots where I'm like, okay, that looks cool, but like it's kind of cringe, bro. I know.
You know what? You don't even need to mention it. You know exactly. I know exactly what shot you're talking about.
Daenerys wings.
Yeah. Okay. When I saw that, I paused it and I was like,
it's cool, but. Game of Thrones never used to do that.
So what I was going to say about the series, because I remember that tweet where it said this scene should be studied.
That's funny.
The stupidest
what's
tweet
meant
I've
to
ever
be
seen.
studied?
What's meant to be studied? That's
like,
exactly.
It's like a bit of CGI wings behind it. Like, okay.
It's like cinematographers have that kind of job, but it's like the problem that people had with Blade Runner 2049 as well. It looked amazing, right? And the scenes worked, but that's because they worked in the context of the film, and it didn't feel like they were ham-fisted in to make people go
whereas
hey, look, it's a good scene.
Like, hey, she's the dragon.
It's like, it was exactly like, hey, look, I took a cinematography class. It's like, nah.
The moments in the older seasons where you see she's the dragon is the scenes where it actually makes sense, where she burns and the dragons are born, when she's burning on the fire, but she doesn't burn to death.
Yeah.
You know, that is an actual good scene to prove it. But you don't need this fucking... I mean, I am just nitpicking it.
No, I wouldn't even say it's nitpicking. That's well-founded. So the cinematography of the early scenes when Tyrion eventually finds Jaime and Cersei buried under the rubble, I felt brilliant. That was good. He found out they couldn't escape in time. Like, that was the place he wanted to see, and he was like, he didn't want to see what he eventually saw. Then, the scene where Daenerys arrives and then the dragon flies off.
Yeah.
No, fuck it. The scene where Jon sees, I think it's Drogon, sees Drogon in the snow.
Yeah.
That scene was like, I was like, okay, all right then. It was okay.
Yeah.
But that scene where the dragon flew off and it showed Daenerys having wings, that's when I was like, now you're taking the piss. You are taking the piss. So like, that's the kind of scene where people will be like, hey, look, I know how to use a camera. Like, that's literally like Babby's first cinematography lesson.
Yeah.
It's like symbolism. They tried to force symbolism so hard. What the old seasons did so well was that when something was symbolic, it was subtle, and you'll be like, oh, that's when you get it. You'd watch it back, and you'd watch it back with hindsight of everything that's happened, and you'll be like, now I get it.
Yeah.
Like the kind of stuff you see in Get Out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in season 8, especially that scene, it was like, it was in your face. It's cheesy. And Game of Thrones has never been cheesy.
It was genuine cheese. Like, it was actual cheese.
Yeah, it was cheese. It was like, look, she's a dragon. Haha. You saw, if you watched the documentary, right? Yeah. And you saw how smug D&D was when
Not happy.
Kit, when not just that, when they read the stage directions from when Arya killed the Night King and when Kit killed when Jon killed Daenerys. Did you look closely at their faces when this scene happened and everyone was like, oh, they had the biggest shit-eating grins I've ever seen. Really? They were so smug.
What? Why though?
D&D, because they were like, wow.
Did they genuinely believe it was good?
Yeah. Well, of course they believe it was good. They fucking wrote it, but like,
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe they didn't believe what they were saying in the behind the scenes. It was like Danny sort of forgot how to do anything. Yeah, we sort of forgot how to write a good show.
I also think that documentary was filmed like just after they finished recording all and stuff.
Yeah,
like when they were reading them screenplays and stuff.
Yeah.
But
no. You do it. The table read happens before they actually go to do it. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Of course they think it was decent and everything. The problem that I now have was that they spent all this time with the entire seasons and all these actors, and the payoff just didn't feel earned. Like, I watched the Graham Norton show after they'd finished filming. It had like Chris Hemsworth and Kit Harington, and Kit Harington had the whole thing where he burst into he cried when it finally finished, the last day of filming, and someone asked him, and one of the funny things I liked about Kit Harington as an actor, what Graham Norton asked him was that, what would you do if someone asked you what would you do if someone asked you about the show, about spoilers and anything? Then Kit said, "Oh, I'm no longer Jon Snow." So what he thought would happen was that someone would ask him, "Hey, you're Jon Snow in that Game of Thrones show," and then he'd reply with, "Not anymore." And he just because he doesn't play Jon Snow anymore. Like, his watch has ended. Yeah. What actually happened was that the person asked, and he burst into tears.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he burst into tears. He was like, "No." It's funny when you watch it in the show. It was funny because it was genuinely like, he's given up on the character now. Like, his watch has ended. Yeah. The problem that I have is that, remember the leaks? Mm-hmm. When the leaks first came out, and everyone thought it was bullshit
because they were that bad.
They were bad. Now there were so many people in the table reading. Did you see how many people were at the table read?
No, I didn't.
There was the cast. Yeah. The writers. Then you had another 20 people who you've probably never seen. So one of them is bound to have leaked it.
That's amazing.
Like, it was a full room. It's not like Infinity War Endgame where there was no table read, so you couldn't leak it. Can you imagine
if we didn't know because me and Faf both read the leaks before they came out, because we were like at the point of where we thought to ourselves, it can't be that bad.
It can't be that bad. Like, when we read the leaks, I read the leaks.
Was right.
I read the leaks thinking it was bullshit. I read the leaks thinking it was bull.
Like, it was clear bullshit at the time.
Like, because I'd gone through Endgame leaks and I read all of them to have a good laugh about how bad all the leaks for Endgame were. Like, I've gone back to that spoiler subreddit and read all the leaks for Endgame with people saying, War Machine stays back while Thanos... Like, one thing they got right was that Thanos attacks them at the base, but they thought that happened at the beginning of the film when War Machine holds them back while they go back in time. Yeah. And I read it and I was like, that's a good fan fiction. Yeah. But then I read these leaks and I'm like, this can't happen. So I thought I was gonna have a good laugh watching them and seeing a very well written final season. They were correct, and I was like, okay, this is obvious. But then they started getting more and more correct as the seasons kept by, and even I remember you, Fraser, like you were in the group chat saying, "Take a shot every time I exclaim in the group chat that all the leaks are correct." I was genuinely like, this can't be happening. Yeah. I was so worried that, all the leaks would be correct, and they were. Yeah. It's disappointment.
It just is disappointing. There's nothing more we can really say than we are disappointed.
I think the season, it had so much promise. It It was ahead of the books, and we were all kind of saying that season 6, the end of season 6, where Daenerys is sailing towards the King's Landing. Yeah. If the series ended there and it got all of a sudden cancelled,
I would have been happy.
I wouldn't even been mad. I'd be livid. No, I'd be livid at the time. I'd be livid. But with the benefits of hindsight, I wouldn't be mad. Like, I generally wouldn't be mad. Imagine if they cancelled it and they revived it. They cancelled it and the books came out, then they revived it. Like, they pulled the Samurai Jack. Yeah. I'm just so tired of series ending so disappointing.
I mean, after this podcast, I'm just gonna finish Game of Thrones and never watch it again. Yeah. Until the books come out.
I'm used to disappointment now. So I've had Samurai. I've had a lot of BBC shows have been cancelled, and they've cancelled on a bad note, and they've ended on a bad note. So I'm like, they've all ended really badly. Samurai Jack, after many years, got revived for season 5 on the finale. The first 3 episodes were god tier. The actual 10 out of 10 episodes. That led me to believe the whole episode would be good. The season got rushed and it ended really badly.
Yeah.
I was like, disappointment. Game of Thrones is like last season, and I'm just like, I remember making a Photoshop in season 7 and it said, you know it will end badly. Like, I can show you the image that I made, but I made that 2 years ago, and it said, you all know the show will end badly.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe myself when I made it, because I thought it would end well. But now that has ended badly, and I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm just so used to disappointment.
Yeah, it's getting depressing, but I feel like we had a good one with the MCU, as we said before.
We had a very good run with the MCU. I'm so happy that Endgame wasn't bad.
Yeah, I would have been so crushed if that was bad.
I genuinely would be like, no shows could end anymore. No one can end a franchise well anymore. Yeah. I'm worried about Star Wars.
I'm not worried because I know it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I know, but I'm worried about how bad it could get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like going to laugh because obviously we've made a podcast about my distaste for Star Wars now. So yeah. I'm just going to sit there and be like, now I have witnessed this pain. Now you can all witness this pain. Yeah. Because people on Twitter are like, oh, you cry way too much. And then when Star Wars comes out, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, this is really bad. I think maybe the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker.
Be good, maybe.
J.J. Abrams will do the best he can.
I think it will be.
The problem that I have is that I feel it's going to be too derivative of all the other Star Wars stuff that came before it. J.J. Abrams has a thing that every time he reboots a franchise, he did this with Star Trek, he did this with Star Wars. He always goes for something that happened before. Yeah. He always rehashes something that's happened before, but modernizes it.
Like he did with the first film.
Yep. So I'd say, is there anything, we've been doing this for 1 hour and 10 minutes. I'd say, is there anything more you want to say about Game of Thrones in general?
I'm actually getting quite tired right now. I don't know if it is a bit obvious. But,
and we've been getting tired as well. I think the disappointment has crushed us.
No, it really has. It's like, I don't want to sit here and shit on Game of Thrones for an hour. I want to sit here and say how good it was.
Oh,
like,
we did that with Endgame. Yeah, in Endgame, we made a podcast gushing over how good Endgame was, and even like the funny moments and everything, we could have a good laugh. But this just felt.
Yeah, I'm like sad. Like
I'm crushed.
Like it's really depressing. Like it really is. Like in the matter of a week, we've lost Game of Thrones and the campcasts. Yeah. Like, what am I going to lose next?
And campcast ended like, it got cancelled.
I mean, at least the campcast ended on campcast got what we wanted for season 6. We
got 40. It ended on a round episode. It ended on 40 episodes. 40 episodes of good stuff.
It ended on season 4.
Yeah, exactly. Ended on the best season.
Yeah, but I think Alex did a good choice there. Alex, good choice.
I'd say though, should I just quickly talk about moving forward? Like right now, so Game of Thrones is all done now. We've got a lot of films to catch up. We've had the summer of films. Like I wanted to go on to talk about some of the films that I've been watching, but I know Fraser hasn't watched them. Like you've got John Wick 3 that's come out. We've got Detective Pikachu that's come out. We've got Brightburn that's come out. We've got Aladdin. We've got all of them.
Pikachu.
Well, I think we should just do it about like films in general. We shouldn't dedicate it to one single film. We've got John Wick, Detective Pikachu.
Yeah,
we've got loads of stuff to talk about, so we can get more variety into it. So moving forward, we'll be talking about it. I want to talk about Chernobyl as well. That is genuinely a good show. I'm gonna get Fraser to watch it somehow, and I guess in the future we're just gonna be just going all at it because we've lost long series that we've. This is basically our mini-season finale. This is our mid-season finale. We've got Endgame finishing, Game of Thrones finishing. Yeah. Now we've got new stuff to look forward to.
Now we move.
Now we move on to new stuff. So should we end it there? I guess. Yeah. So thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Coffee Club podcast. As always, it'll be on SoundCloud, Spotify, and iTunes on release. Also, I was going to say something. I'll probably discuss it. In fact, you know what? I'll discuss it off camera. We'll probably say it on Twitter or something. We'll announce it on Twitter when it gets to it. But yeah, Thanks for watching us. Follow us on Twitter. We'll give updates and all that kind of stuff. And
God's be good, and may the round bless you and your crops.
That is a good one. Thank you all for listening. See ya.
Bye.